central amphitheatre of the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit is where our drivers will contest their final battle for honours. 4 championships will be settled this weekend, with action from the 270Rs, the 310Rs and the mighty 420Rs. First up, it's the Avon Tyres Caterham Motorsport Championship. It's been a thrilling season of racing, and it all comes down to a suitably thrilling conclusion here on the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, with just one solitary point separating Lars Hoffmann from Andrew Murgatroyd at the top of the championship table. It's wide open coming into these final 2 races. Here's confirmation of how it looks. Stuart Bell leads the points but is absent from Brands Hatch, so Hoffmann essentially inherits the points lead, with Murgatroyd just 1 behind and Will Rossetti still mathematically in contention. First race of the weekend then about to get underway, with Will Rossetti on the pole position, doing everything he can to keep his championship hopes alive. Keep an eye though to the championship contenders behind him. Lars Hoffmann there on the outside of row number 2, looking for a good start. It's a good start made from the outside of row 1 though by Harry Cook, but in the second phase of the start he drops back, so it will be Rossetti that leads them into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Further back, the number 11 car stuck in the thick of the action. That's Rick Hewland coming through Paddock Hill Bend. And thankfully, everyone seems to be through pretty much in one piece, on board with the basically points leader, Lars Hoffmann here. And he's in about 5th position or so. The number 9 car there just ahead of him is Harry Cook. Turn their way through Druids down into Graham Hill Bend, and Lars Hoffmann started 1 position in front of Andrew Murgatroyd, the 84 car. He appears though to be behind him now, because Murgatroyd with a good start has come into 2nd place, so Murgatroyd with a good start to his race, looking to try and take that points lead away from Hoffmann going into the championship decider tomorrow. Through then to the completion of the opening lap of racing, and a few sideways cars behind. That's Rick Hewland again, the number 11 car, with a big moment coming through clearways. Thankfully he gathered it together, was very nearly collected by the cars behind. For the lead though, Andrew Murgatroyd has a look around the outside of Will Rossetti. These are basically the top 3 drivers in the championship, and a good exit from Paddock Hill Bend puts Murgatroyd on the inside line into Druids, and Lars Hoffmann latches straight onto the rear of his car, tries to follow him through, and then actually tries to attack for the lead himself. That doesn't work though, so Murgatroyd gets the advantage. Hoffmann sideways is still trying to get past Rossetti for 2nd place. Late on the brakes into Graham Hill Bend, he decisively turns across to the apex and does now clinch that 2nd position. But that was very robust stuff there from Hoffmann, who does not want to allow Andrew Murgatroyd out of his sights. It's rare that anyone is able to pull away out in front in this category, but it can happen if the cars behind are busy squabbling with each other. Hoffmann needs to try and stay right in the wheel tracks of Murgatroyd. Essentially, whichever finishes in front of the other in this race will lead the championship going into the final race tomorrow. So this is winner takes all at this stage. Murgatroyd leading the way then, Hoffmann in the tow, goes to the outside line into Paddock Hill Bend. Again, not trying to go right round the outside, trying to get the switch back here, get the better exit from the corner to possibly challenge into Druids. Murgatroyd, though, is sufficiently quick enough on the exit of the corner, gets over to the inside line and covers the position into Druids. Rossetti has lost more ground, though. He's down into 3rd place now. And, down into 4th, excuse me. Into 3rd position has come Harry Cook, the number 9 car. So Harry, having started on the outside of row 1, didn't get a great 2nd phase of his start, and so he dropped outside of the top 5 briefly, but he's back into the podium places now, chasing after the 2 championship rivals who turn through Surtees into clearways. Defensive line being taken unsurprisingly by Murgatroyd, and really that's all he can hope to do. He's not going to be able to pull away now. He has to accept he's going to have to drive defensively for the rest of the race now to try and keep Lars Hoffmann behind. But this is the effect of the slipstream. You saw it absolutely beautifully demonstrated there from on board with the 2nd place man. Hoffmann uses the tow to drive right around the outside of Murgatroyd into Paddock Hill Bend. You can't defend from that. There was no way that Murgatroyd was going to be able to hang on to the lead, and indeed Hoffmann has now moved ahead of him. Andrew, of course, though, will get the benefit of the tow next time around. This was Hoffmann's start. Harry Cook, looking in front of us, gets a good initial launch, but then going through the gears, he's a bit slow away. Andy Lease comes diving through the middle, and Murgatroyd on the right-hand side of the road gets into 2nd place. Now, Andy Lease, somewhere along the line, will end up losing a bit of ground here. I think he got hung out to dry on the outside of the next corner, but comes one of the midfield battles. Oh, and contact, and over goes Giuseppe Follett, and in spectacular fashion, he exits the race. The good news is that he appears to be okay, but that car will need to be possibly overturned back onto its wheels before they can get him out. The red flags have no choice but to be thrown. We're about then to have a race restart after that dramatic incident at Clearways. Driver is okay though, and we're able to go racing once more then. Off the line they go, Murgatroyd from pole position essentially, with Lars Hoffmann on the outside of row 1, not getting a great start, and here comes Ben Lopez-Appleton, the blue number 5 car, trying to challenge for second position, as for the second time of asking, they charge into Paddock Hill Bend after the launch from the start-finish line. Murgatroyd gets the lead then, Lopez-Appleton second. Looks as though Hoffmann will settle into third position for the time being. The inside there, you caught a glimpse of Trevor Conway, the fluorescent yellow number 4 car. All safely through the first corner, then down the hill. Conway there diving across to the inside line to try and defend from the cars behind him. And how quickly things can change. That red flag, whilst of course unfortunate for Giuseppe Follett and Ryan Errol, with whom he tangled, it has rather played into the hands here, you'd have to say, of Andrew Murgatroyd, who was behind Hoffmann earlier. But the result goes back a lap to form the grid for the restart. That's why he was back in front when they regridded, and that's been enough for him to therefore hold on to the advantage now and actually get a car between himself and his big rival, except that has now changed already. Hoffmann has got himself ahead of Lopez-Appleton into second place and now dives to the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, tries to get the lead away from Murgatroyd. Murgatroyd is super late on the brakes though, just about gets through the corner, just about gets over to the inside to defend on the exit. Andy Lees is in the gravel in the background though, and somehow gathered that together. He'll lose a bit of rear bodywork. Thankfully the number 2 car avoided making serious contact with the barriers there, and he's rejoined, having lost maybe 5 or 6 places, but it could have been a lot worse, that's for sure. So that leaves us then with a leading trio of cars now, Murgatroyd, Hoffmann and Ben Lopez-Appleton. Ben, not a title contender, so perhaps he can afford to almost be a bit more aggressive with the 2 drivers in front of him, knowing that they have championship points to worry about. Andy Lees, though, is off, and this time, well, no, he avoids the barriers again, but that's his second wild moment since the restart. Damage to the exhaust, I noticed, down the right-hand side as well. Turned into a race to forget, unfortunately for him. Back with Hoffmann then, looking to the outside, and there was maybe contact there between the top 2 as Lars Hoffmann tried to go around the outside of Andrew Murgatroyd, but there was not enough room. And Murgatroyd hangs on, diving on the inside is Harry Cook, though, going for third place, trying to get ahead of Ben Lopez-Appleton. This is starting to get very, very fiery out there as we get towards the closing stages of the race now. And with the championship battle starting to hit fever pitch as well, tensions starting to rise. This has been a bit of a pressure cooker race. They haven't necessarily been changing positions corner by corner as we see sometimes, because there is so much on the line now. Every overtaking attempt that either of these championship rivals make has to be 100% calculated. I don't think there's going to be enough time though here for Lars Hoffmann to get through, because we're on the final lap. The checkered flag is waiting. It's going to be a very, very close finish indeed. Hoffmann goes to the outside line, to the inside Lopez-Appleton, but it is Murgatroyd that hangs on by 16 one-thousandths of a second, and with that race victory takes the championship lead going into tomorrow's championship decider. But he only took it by 16 thousandths. Had he finished behind Hoffmann, he would have lost points and Hoffmann would have extended his margin. So super close racing and an awful lot on the line there, but it is Murgatroyd that gets the victory with Hoffmann second, and crucially Lopez-Appleton was not able to split them. That would have even better played into the hands of Andrew Murgatroyd. But in the end, just the one position in front of his big rival Hoffmann. That will, though, be enough to give him the points lead going into the final race of the season. Well, what a final race that will be. What a penultimate race it was, though. There's the winning margin, 100th of a second between the top 2, 800th separating the top 3, with Harry Cook and Fraser Jones rounding out the top 5. Murgatroyd the winner, though. Can he do the double tomorrow?
That's got to be one of the closest finishes. We had no idea who won that one.
Well, to be honest, all the way down on the cool-down lap, I had no idea until one of the marshals was that much won, and I was like, maybe. When I got directed to the number 1, I was like, yes, get in. Yeah, I mean, I didn't quite have the pace coming out clearways. I was too much understeer, so I tried to back them up, and it was just enough by the skin of my teeth, yeah.
The whole race was great. Never seen such a great race here. Yeah. With Andrew and Ben. Absolutely perfect drivers.
So it all came down to the final race of the season on a damp circuit on Sunday afternoon. Lars Hoffmann and Andrew Murgatroyd would spend most of the race dicing for position, with places changing between the two on multiple occasions. Harry Cook also joined in the fun, whilst Ben Lopez-Appleton pulled away to take a reasonably comfortable race victory. The decisive moment came when Andrew Murgatroyd had a moment at Graham Hill Bend as some heavy rain arrived in the closing stages, allowing Hoffman to pull away to take second in the race and claim the championship by a single point. Here's confirmation then of that result. 1 point in it between Hoffman and Murgatroyd, with Rossetti cementing his position in third. Lopez Appleton was fourth, Tom Brown rounded out the top 5. What a season of racing it was though. Well, congratulations to Lars Alexander Hoffman, your 2019 Caterham Motorsport champion. I'm sure that both he and Andrew Murgatroyd thoroughly enjoyed their season-long duel. It's the end of a long season of racing for the 2019 Caterham 7 270R Championship, and it all comes down to this. 2 races around the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit and 4 drivers mathematically still in contention for the title. Realistically though, it all boils down to a head-to-head fight between Daniel French and Matt Shepherd, who arrive here at the final round just 6 points apart in Daniel's favour. Justin Heap in third and James Murphy in fourth though technically could still take the championship from them. It's all to play for with these final 2 races of the season still to go. Well, the cars then are lining up on the grid. James Murphy has got the pole position, so whilst he is an outside bet for the championship, he's certainly done his hopes no harm at all. Tom Allen lines up alongside him. Then the points leader, Daniel French, will be third on the grid. His nearest rival in the points, Matt Shepherd, you can just see him in the background, the yellow and black car, will line up 5th on the grid. So they're all towards the sharp end. But this is a long race and we know how frenetic the action often can get. I'm sure this won't be a simple run to the flag. Lights out then, the race gets underway and an even start made by both of the front row men. By the looks of it, they launch off the line towards Paddock Hill Bend. On the left of your shot, James Murphy, on the right, Tom Allen. Further back, it's all very congested as usual. Justin Heap there dives to the outside. Remember, he's third in the points and arrives here just 16 points off the championship lead as well. All safely through Paddock into Druids, on board with Matt Shepherd then. So this is the man, remember, who is second place in the championship. Daniel French, the man that he really needs to try and beat in this race in order to close the gap going into tomorrow's championship decider. Shepherd, the yellow number 80 car, around the outside of Graham Hill Bend. The blue and yellow immediately in front of him is Daniel French, and off further back, 3 cars together. Number 88 is one of the cars that's gone off. That's James McCall. 95 looks to be bouncing its way back on the track as well. That's Al Melton. And one other car involved was car number 9 there. That's Jimmy Bevan. So 3 cars off, but no real damage done. And I think they should all be able to rejoin. No, Bevan unfortunately pulling off the road. He is on early retirement from this race. Leaders then into Paddock Hill Bend, and Tom Allen looks to have got the race lead away here towards the end of lap number 1. There's Greg Murphy turning through into Paddock Hill Bend, but Allen not particularly quick off the corner, so James Murphy goes to the outside and diving to the inside of everybody is Neil Fraser. The number 25 car will come from absolutely nowhere to snatch the lead away through Druids. Side by side, they're still on the exit of the corner. Then you've got the 2 championship rivals, 4th and 5th at the moment, on board with the 5th place man Matt Shepherd. Turns through Graham Hill Bend, and so far so good really for both of them. They've kept each other within their sights, and that is good news for both of them really. As we move through the middle portion of the race though, they'll each be trying to position themselves to the point where maybe they can outscore the other, and that will have, of course, a significant bearing on who becomes champion at the end of the weekend. Through the final turn they all come then, this whole gaggle of cars staying pretty close together as we would expect. The crocodile weaving around from side to side down the straight as drivers try to break the tow. It doesn't look as though Tom Allen's been able to do that though successfully, because James Murphy goes from the inside of him into second place, runs a bit wide at Paddock Hill Bend though. Back up the inside then goes the 25 car of Neil Fraser, and here comes around the outside line in the end Daniel French, and Daniel French gets muscled out of line a bit, and this is Matt Shepherd's opportunity to pull alongside his big championship rival. Wheel to wheel into Graham Hill Bend they go, and on the inside line French should be able to hang on. Keep an eye to the left of the shot. Is Shepherd able to get a switch back? I don't think he is. And so Daniel French sees off that particular challenge from his sparring partner throughout the season, Matt Shepherd. These two have been very evenly matched all year long. However, it's worth pointing out that Shepherd is dropping fewer points at this stage than Daniel French is, so he really can't afford a non-finish or a bad score, whereas Daniel French has a few more points than he's dropping. A bad result in this race would not necessarily be the end of the world for him. Of course, they'd both like to finish on the top step of the podium, though that's the best way of guaranteeing that you're scoring good points. And the moment, neither of them are on the podium places for the time being, though. Tom Allen leads the way. Murphy second. Neil Fraser tries to go around the outside. Matt Shepherd also goes for the outside line at Druids, and this might work out better, actually, because it gives him the inside line now for Graham Hill Bend at the bottom of the hill, and Shepherd does move ahead into 4th position. French tries that switchback on the exit of the corner, but isn't able to do it, and so Shepherd moves through, but that will only gain him an extra point or two over Daniel French in the championship race. He needs to try and get a few cars between them now, ideally, to be able to further shrink the margin in the championship. He is into 4th place though, so things going the right way at the moment. 3 behind comes the rest of the pack. On to the start of another lap, and they're really not separating, are they, the group of cars behind? Tom Allen, though, is just starting to break away here. James Murphy sort of doing the same. It's all really about this fight for 3rd place then. Neil Fraser, the orange car in 3rd, then the 2 title rivals behind him, and Matt Shepherd keen to try and get a car between himself and Daniel French. Looks to the inside at Druids, but Fraser is just far enough in front of him that Shepherd is not able to get past. Cars slide their way out to the right-hander then in overcast but dry conditions. There is rain forecast though for later in the weekend. There's every chance that the final race of the season tomorrow could be in damp conditions, and that may play into one driver's hands more than the other. Daniel French with a good run out of Graham Hill Bend then gets up the inside of Matt Shepherd through Surtees. That's a really brave move to make. Not a part of the circuit that you really want to be running wheel to wheel through, but French kept his foot in it and has moved back ahead now into 4th position. So at the moment, Daniel French looking set to outscore most of his championship rivals. James Murphy is ahead of him, but only by a couple of places. I don't think that will be enough to keep Murphy in contention, so it's looking increasingly likely to be a French versus Shepherd battle going into tomorrow's final race. The question remains, though, what will the gap be between them? Here's a replay of the start, then, from on board with Matt Shepherd, who started behind French, remember, on the grid. Lights go out, away he goes, gets a good initial launch, but then going up through the gears it all sort of equalises out, and there really wasn't much of an advantage for any one of the top 5 or 6 cars. They sort of turn into Paddock Hill Bend more or less in grid order, with Murphy leading, Allen 2nd, French 3rd, Fraser 4th, and then round the outside comes the number 6 car of Justin Heap, who did make that good start, but has sort of dropped down the order a little bit since then. Oh, Neil Fraser, though, gets tagged into a spin there by Greg Monks, and from 3rd position, Fraser is off the road. There is no damage to the car, but because of just how closely together the whole field was bunched, he will lose heaps of time and heaps of positions as well. Into Paddock Hill Bend then goes Daniel French, around the outside Graham McDonald's very much joining in the fun now. Here is the Daniel French view, and well, it was avoidable contact, but it was fairly minimal contact in fairness between Monks and Fraser, but Fraser definitely the one that came off worse. So Daniel French then turns through Surtees, and it looks as though he's going to outscore his big rivals here. He's in 5th position at the moment. There's the fight for 3rd, Graham McDonald ahead of Greg Monks now, but they're all losing touch really with the leading 2. We're moving into the closing stages of the race now, and James Murphy leads the way. Tom Allen, though, has not given up his hopes of taking the race victory here. Moves to the high line into Paddock Hill Bend on the way in. That was never going to work, really, but he's looking to try and get the better exit. Murphy sees that coming as well, though, and so he defends again into Druid. So Tom Allen thinks, right, I'll go right round the outside then. Inches between them as they turn through the right-hander. Murphy, though, holds on. There's almost contact in the background there between McDonald and Monks as well, as they scrap over the final step on the podium. But the more that they trip over each other, the further ahead these two are likely to pull. Murphy then, the orange and black number 3 car, turns into Surtees and clearways. Tom Allen right in his wheel tracks, both of them with that rear damage after their wheel banging incident a few laps ago at Paddock Hill Bend, which they survived, thankfully, but their car's not quite in showroom condition anymore. That's sort of situation normal really for Caterham Racing, it would seem. The racing is always very close, and it's about to get even closer because we're on to the final lap of the race now, and once again Tom Allen pulls to the outside line of Paddock Hill Bend but gets his nose in front this time. Can he go right round the outside to take the race lead away at the start of the last lap? Well, he hasn't completed the manoeuvre yet. He's back on the outside again into Druids. Murphy on the inside should be able to hold on, which he does, but that was a really good effort there from Tom Allen to try and get through. Has he got anything left, though? Is there anything else he can do to get past James Murphy? Half a lap to go, and realistically only one more obvious overtaking opportunity left, that being into Clearway's corner at the end of the lap. Failing that, it's all about the exit onto the pit straight. If you can get the slipstream, it is possible to outdrag your rivals before you get to the start-finish line. Looks like that will be the only option left for Tom Allen. Then he gets a bit sideways out of clearways through Clark Curve. He's in the tow though. He is definitely closing in on James Murphy here. Will he get there in time? Get the photo finish cameras ready. It's going to be very, very close, and too close to call in the end for first and for third place. But the timing screen says that it's Tom Allen by 23 one-thousandths of a second who takes the race victory from James Murphy, and Graham McDonald by 17 one-thousandths of a second hangs on to third position. Fantastic racing there, and Tom Allen steals it from James Murphy on the line. A very close finish. In the end, our championship contenders finished some way down the order, but Daniel French in 6th position does just enough to clinch the title with one race to go.
Didn't win the race, but you got the championship. How does it feel?
It feels amazing, actually. There's been ups and downs this year, wheels falling off, fingers being broken, and towards the end of the season, I really just had to bring it home today. I felt like the tyre had started deflating a little bit when I had some contact with one of the wings that came off in front of me. And yeah, I just had to bring it home ahead of Matt Shepherd, managed to do that, and yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. I can't believe it.
Well, after a damp and drizzly second race of the weekend, it was James Murphy that moved into second place in the championship with a race victory. Matt Shepherd had a non-finish though and dropped to 5th. Daniel French though had already clinched the title. Congratulations on the 2019 championship. This is the title decider for the 2019 310R Championship here at Brands Hatch. As the drivers arrive at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, there are realistically 3 drivers still in contention. Gordon Sawyer arrives here as the championship leader, but it is not a comfortable margin at all. Just 7 points over Jay McCormack, whose teammate Tom Grensinger is only a further 3 back. That means there are just 10 points between the top 3 and 2 races still to go here at Brands Hatch this weekend. Well, Jay McCormack has got his weekend off to the perfect start. Pole position for race 1. He's in a feisty mood ahead of this first of 2 races today. Christian Chiruta is up on the front row of the grid alongside him, whilst Gordon Sawyer is only 4th. Tom Grensinger is 23rd, having completed just 6 laps in qualifying and must gain ground from there to keep his championship hopes alive. Lights out then, away they go. Good start made by McCormack from pole position. Not such a rapid getaway from Christian Chiruta in second place, and so Gordon Sawyer, the yellow and black number 77 car, comes storming through into second position. So already the top 2 in the championship are in the top 2 positions in the race. This is Tom Grensinger's view, and it's rather a busy view as he heads up Halewood Hill into Druids Corner for the first time. Remember, he's just 10 points behind the championship leader, but an awfully long way down the grid, and by the time he gets through some of these midfield runners, there is a danger that the leaders may have escaped up the road, so he has to try and make early progress here as quickly as he can. Into Surtees they go then. Third position looks to be Pete Walters, the number 88, and there Christian Chiruta on his return to the championship. Not with a great start. He has rather fallen down the order here in the early stages, but no doubt a little bit race rusty. Christian Chiruta racing in the championship for the first time since the untimely passing of his father earlier on this season, so no doubt an emotional weekend for him. He will though be keen to get to the sharp end, I'm sure. Back with Grensinger then, deep in the pack as he comes across the start-finish line at the end of lap number 1, dives to the outside there of the number 10 car going into Paddock Hill Bend, and should be able to get past John Chiverell through the right-hander. Trying to get past the race leader though is Gordon Sawyer, goes to the outside of Jay McCormack at Druids. Has to be careful though, there are other cars behind that will no doubt be keen to take advantage if either of these 2 go offline. So Sawyer, as keen as he is to get past the race leader, needs to be careful. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't cost him any places. Andrew Perry's now into 3rd place, look ahead of Pete Walters, and Perry goes around the outside, or attempts to at least go around the outside of Gordon Sawyer through Surtees. That isn't really an overtaking opportunity though. Gordon Sawyer soaring away at the wheel there as he comes through clearways, now into the slipstream. The slipstream will no doubt open up the opportunity to overtake into Paddock Hill Bend. Once again he goes to the outside line, inches between their wheels as they hit into this daunting first corner, but I don't think Sawyer's going to be able to make that one stick. Back up the inside of Andrew Perry goes Pete Walters then into 3rd position. Oh, and almost a bit of contact there between Perry and it looks as though that might be Jake Swan-Dixon trying to get up the inside. Gordon Sawyer though is up the inside of Jay McCormack and takes the race leader. Crucially, McCormack could lose more places here because now Pete Walters is alongside, but that's the outside line for Graham Hill Bend. he has to slot back in behind. So Sawyer leads the way then. Second place for McCormack. Grensinger, we're on board with him now. He's sort of creeping up towards the top 10. A shortened qualifying session for Tom meant that he wasn't ultimately able to show exactly what he could do. We know he's quicker than his 23rd place starting position would show us, but gaining that track position back is not going to be the work of a moment. He needs to try and keep this forward momentum going. Out of clearways through Clark Curve, and the leader's changed once again. McCormack's gone back through and he's bringing Pete Walters with him, and Sawyer's got Andrew Perry to the outside of him as well, and the best form of attack in the end for Sawyer, or best form of defence, is attack. He goes back up the inside of the 88 car of Walters, almost reclaimed second place. He's back up the inside, almost into the back of the 88 machine into Druids Corner. Gordon Sawyer half a lap ago was leading, and now is really having to try and fend everybody off. This is Grensinger's start then. A good start was made, went to the outside line into Paddock Hill Bend. He's already got past 2 or 3 cars here and just sails around the outside as everybody else clamours for the apex. He goes where they're not and is able to pick up a few positions even within the first couple of corners of the race. So a great start from Grensinger, but it has to be a maximum attack race this from him. Into the middle portion of the race now, and things are going better for Grensinger. He's with the lead pack now as they drop down into Graham Hill Bend. Gordon Sawyer there defending his 3rd place from Matt Topham, the number 27 car, and does so successfully. It looks as though it's Walters that's got the lead now though, with McCormack second, and here up the inside line, there's contact right in front of Tom Grensinger, who has to take avoiding action. The contact there, Donald Henschel gets into Matt Topham, they go off, but Tom Grensinger, the championship contender, was very nearly collected in their skirmish. Henschel will rejoin, but possibly with damage. It looks as though Matt Topham's race may be done though, but that was a dramatic moment in the lead pack through Surtees. I said earlier on, it's not really a place that you can go side by side. That is why, very easy to make contact that can do an awful lot of damage to your car. Topham has been able to rejoin. Here's a replay. This is the Grensinger eye view. They're here on the left-hand side of the road. They don't give each other enough room, and Grensinger, how on earth did he avoid making contact with them? I'm not even sure that he will be able to tell you, but he did avoid contact. He's continued on his way back to some of the midfield battles that are going on. There is Christian Saruta then, the number 2 car, who is still just about within the top 10, I think, at this stage of the race. He's enjoying his return, I'm sure, despite the slightly emotional context within which he has returned to the championship. Good to have him back nonetheless. And it's the final round of the 2019 season. Right then, Gordon Sawyer in 3rd position. Pete Walters in front of us, so it's Jay McCormack that's got the lead back again now. But look at this, the 3 title contenders are almost together, because the blue and yellow striped car is Tom Grensinger in 4th position, going up the inside of Gordon Sawyer for 3rd and gets ahead of him. Tom Grensinger into a podium place now, and the door might be open up the inside for 2nd place. It is Pete Walters. Grensinger on the grass, has to be careful. There's contact there with Sawyer through Druids Corner. Having gained all of this ground, the last thing Grensinger wants to do is throw it all away. And in the end, by getting a bit greedy there and going for 2nd place, he ends up losing 3rd, albeit temporarily, to Gordon Sawyer, because he's back up the inside and Andrew Perry comes with him. That's how quickly things can change in this category. And back into 3rd goes Grensinger, down to 5th now goes Gordon Sawyer. If things finished as they are now, McCormack would be the championship leader into the championship decider. Contact now for Sawyer and Perry, and thankfully Perry saved the car, not just for his own good, but also because I think that would have probably resulted in a penalty for Gordon Sawyer had that turned into a more significant incident. But remarkably, Tom Grensinger then from 23rd on the grid, there he is, car number 48 into 3rd position. Could he win the race even? Well, you wouldn't bet against it, would you? Pete Walters is trying to win the race as well, going around the outside of Jay McCormack into Druids Corner. McCormack hangs on to the race lead though. Grensinger into 3rd place now. This should be enough to put him 2nd in the championship, temporarily at least, going into the final race, but all of this could change. It's a slightly smaller entry this weekend as well, and you score fewer points the fewer cars are on the grid, so this could actually end up turning into a few people's drop scores anyway. We do know it's all going to be very tight going to the final race, and Tom Grensinger's remarkable fight back in this one has ensured that it should still be a 3-way fight going into the title decider. Back to the battling that's going on towards the tail end of the top 10 now. Car number 66 joining in the fun there. That is Jake Swan Dixon. Right behind him is number 71, Alan Cooper. and then Christian Saruta, the white and Dayglow yellow number 2 machine. This is a big group of cars though. Donald Henshaw, I think, is the man at the back of it with the damaged nose cone. At the front of the field though, Grenzinger back behind Pete Walters now. Jay McCormack still leading the way. Andrew Perry goes around the outside and there's contact. The wings go flying. There isn't a straight body panel left on most of these cars in the lead group, it would seem. Andrew Perry on the inside now. Grenzinger into Graham Hill Bend. Grenzinger is crucially still in front of Gordon Sawyer, with whom we ride on board now. More wheel banging there as Grenzinger gets on the inside of Alan Cooper, who is not for letting the championship contender through. He's showing no respect to those that are fighting for a championship around him, but he can sort of afford to do that because these title contenders have to be careful. Yes, they need to try and outscore each other, but a non-finish at this stage of the season could be disastrous, and so those that aren't in the championship fight could almost be a bit more aggressive. The checkered flag though is shown, and it is Jay McCormack that hangs on to what could be a pivotal race victory. Second place goes the way of Pete Walters, a feisty Pete Walters with Tom Grenzinger third. Gordon Sawyer comes home in fourth, so they're all in the top 4, but it's McCormack victorious, and that should be enough to give him the points lead going into the final race of the season. So McCormack takes the victory with Grenzinger third and Sawyer fourth. That becomes a drop score though, so he and McCormack will only be a couple of points apart going to the title decider.
Fantastic race there, how does it feel?
Oh, awesome, absolutely awesome. Gives me a bit of a points catch up on Gordon now for tomorrow, so tomorrow's race is going to be interesting. Yeah, I think there's 1 point between us now if my calculations are right. And yeah, bring it on, let's do it.
Well, it's certainly very close. Essentially, winner takes all between Sawyer and McCormack going into that final race of the season. A race that took place in damp and greasy conditions on the Sunday, with McCormack storming away from pole position at the start of the race. Sawyer and Grenzinger were not far behind though. They shared the second row and ran wheel to wheel into Paddock Hill Bend on the opening lap. Then Gordon Sawyer had a grandstand view of his big championship rival losing control into Graham Hill Bend. McCormack slid off the road, as did several others, but it was Sawyer that stayed on the black stuff and moved ahead in what could be the defining moment of the season. Christian Saruta took an emotional victory on his return to the championship, but it was Sawyer who finished in 5th place, who wrapped up the title by just 4 points after what's been a sensational season-long battle.
Last 10 years.
Is that what's going through your head right now?
10 years, yeah. And I've had my brother died 2 years ago. I've had him on my helmet the whole season. So that one's for him.
So Gordon Sawyer then is your champion in 2019 by just 4 points over Jay McCormack, whilst Tom Grenzinger was only 10 back. Not bad considering how his weekend started. It's been a fantastic season of racing though. Well done to our champion, Gordon Sawyer. This is the title decider for the 420Rs, and it's all still to play for, with 2 races remaining around the always entertaining Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. After the drop scores are applied, this is how it looks. John Byrne arrives here as the points leader, just 10 points clear though of David Henderson in second, with Aaron Head, Tim Dickens and Henry Heaton all mathematically still in contention. For John Byrne, the weekend has started perfectly. He will be on pole position for our first race, but having had 2 non-finishes this year, he cannot afford another one. It could be the end of his championship hopes. For David Henderson, well, he's also had a non-finish earlier on this season, with his other drop score being a 9-pointer. He starts third on the grid and will be keen to challenge Byrne as soon as possible in the race. Well, that first race of 2 this weekend about to get underway. John Byrne on pole position with Alex Coerbly alongside him. Keep an eye on the 5 car of Henderson though. Byrne's nearest rival starts from the inside of row number 2. Lights out then, away we go. Good start made by both of the front row men. John Byrne on the left, Coerbly on the right, and Henderson trying to fend everybody off into Paddock Hill Bend, which he does so successfully. Lock up there for the blue number 10 car of Henry Heaton. He realistically needs to win this race to have any chance of taking the championship fight down to the final race. But he's having to do it from some way down the order. Started 6th, and we're on board with the number 10 car now as it gets very congested out of Druids Corner. Aaron Head out wide. Justin Armstrong, I think, has lost a rear wing already. That hopefully won't affect his performance, but it's been a lively start to the race in the midfield. And the midfield battle is not something that Henry Heaton ideally wanted to be dealing with in this race. On board with John Byrne then, who's dropped behind Coerbly for the race lead, but he dives back up the inside into clearways, wasting no time in getting out in front. We've seen previously this season that once John Byrne gets into the race lead, he can be difficult to catch. Certainly Coerbly and the rest will be keen to stay with him if they can. Back with Heaton then across the line, end of the opening lap, and he has a lot of overtaking to do here to get himself into contention, even for a top 5 finish in the race realistically. Losing a position there further back, the number 73 car, that was Doug Thane, who started from the back of the grid and has actually already gained a few places on the opening lap. Through Druids corner then, Heaton's first target will be Matt Higginson, the green car, but there is your leading quintet of cars then, with John Byrne leading the way. Richard Ainscough is through to second place now, and David Henderson, crucially, is starting to regain some ground that he's clearly lost on the opening lap or so. He's found a way ahead of Alex Coerbly now, who in fact is struggling a little here. He's a little bit further down the order than we anticipated from the man who led halfway around the opening lap. Henry Heaton sideways as he tries to get up the inside of the disc lock car of Matt Higginson. That slow exit from Clearways will do him no favours at all, but he's back in the slipstream now, across the start-finish line into Paddock Hill Bend. There is no way through at the moment. Meanwhile, David Henderson there, car number 5, second in the points, about to lose third place in the race very nearly there, though, to Alex Coerbly, as Henry Heaton now is up the inside of Matt Higginson and goes through at Druids corner, so that's 1 place gained, but that is nowhere near enough at this stage to keep Heaton in the title race, so it is looking more and more like becoming a 2-horse race now between Byrne and Henderson. There is Byrne leading the way, but it's not David Henderson who is his nearest rival in this race at the moment. That is still Richard Ainscough in second position. Heaton comes through the blue number 10 car then, who has got more cars to try and overtake now. Justin Armstrong appears to be his next rival to try and find a way past. So we can pick out Justin Armstrong's car pretty easily now, because it's the new lightweight Caterham 420R, having shed that rear wheel arch on the opening lap of the race. Coerbly there has another go around the outside of David Henderson, who at the moment is struggling to go with the leading 2. Now, if John Byrne wins the race and Henderson is anywhere inside the top 10, then that will keep him in contention, and that is good news for Henderson, because John Byrne, who was in the race lead, makes a bit of a mess of Druids, runs out wide, and Richard Ainscough goes back through into the lead of the race. Ainscough, unlike most of the drivers around him actually, is not a title contender. He's just looking for race victories, but winning a race against John Byrne is never easy. Byrne is straight back up the inside at Surtees corner and reclaims the lead that he lost for all of 2 corners, and he really would quite like to escape here if at all possible. That little exchange did not seem to lose them too much time to the cars behind, so those two still have a bit of breathing room over this big pack of cars busy squabbling behind them. Back on board then with Henry Heaton, Justin Armstrong in front of us, with Aaron Head in front of him, and right behind still Matt Higginson. So that's this little 4-car fight that's going on for 6th position at the moment. Now this is Henry Heaton's start, and it wasn't textbook, was it? But Richard Ainscough was off like a rocket from the inside of row number 3. That's why he's already up there contending for the race lead. And then Heaton with a big lock-up, actually made a bit of contact there, I think, with the back of Aaron Head's car. And Matt Higginson comes through on the inside line. So unfortunately for Heaton, that's left him with rather an uphill struggle now for the rest of the race. The start is important in Caterham racing, where you can overtake and make progress, but a good start makes that a lot easier, of course. Right then, on board again with Heaton, who's got Will Smith in front of him. Justin Armstrong, though, is the man that's really gaining ground here, because he's ahead of Smith now as well, but then runs a bit wide through Graham Hill Bend. Off onto the grass goes Armstrong, and in fact, I think something's broken, because the number 23 car is not for picking back up speed, and Justin has to pull into the back entry there to the pit lane. So, unfortunately, Justin Armstrong is, by the looks of it, our first retirement. And that gains a few significant drivers, extra positions here. Will Smith and Henry Heaton both go through. Heaton in particular needs the places, because he needs the points for those places. It's then the fight for second place now. Aaron Head round the outside of David Henderson. John Byrne, though, has done a John Byrne, hasn't he? He's escaped out in front. He thought that this might happen as the drivers behind started squabbling amongst each other. John Byrne has been able to pull clear of them all, but any one of these drivers could still get themselves onto the second step of the podium. There is Byrne, already halfway down the back straight. The number 3 car in beautiful isolation, no one in sight, either in front or behind. Speaking of behind, this is a battle that's going on a bit further down the order now. The number 24 car is Chris Audrey there, the grey and yellow car, trying to go around the outside of the pink and blue of Alex Jordan. This is for 13th place at the moment, and Alex Jordan just about fends him off as they go out of Druids down into that tricky left-hander, Graham Hill Bend. Byrne then up the hill into Druids. We're getting into the closing stages of this race now. And John Byrne, if he wins the race, will get 25 nice, juicy championship points. It's really all about where Henderson ends up, though. As long as David is somewhere in the top 10, then he should be able to take the fight down to the final race. The Of course, the further up the top 10 he is, the smaller the deficit will be to John Byrne going into that championship decider. So Henderson, the number 5 car, is the man who really has the pressure on his shoulders now. Doing a good job at the moment. He heads this enormous queue of cars, all squabbling over P2 at the moment, as they turn into this flat-out left-hander at Surtees. It's just about flat out in these cars. They've got enough grip, but they're going awfully quickly through that part of the circuit. Aaron Head in 3rd position then, the man who wants to try and nick this 2nd position away from Henderson, because remember that Head is 3rd in the championship. He is a further 14 points behind Henderson at this stage though, so even if you can't win the title, you'd like to beat Henderson if you can to the runners-up spot. Getting past him now would be a good way to do that. That with the Aubrey and Jordan scrap that's still raging on further back, but this battle is really raging on now. William Smith has come through into 2nd position, with Aaron Head down to 3rd, Quirky 4th, and then Ainscough in 5th position with Tim Dickens, the noseless Tim Dickens, at the back of the queue, so he's had some front-end contact as well. I noticed there are a couple of cars in this group that are sporting war wounds from earlier contact. Henry Heaton, meanwhile, what's he been getting up to? He runs out onto the gravel coming through Clearways and Clark Curve. Very lucky not to spin the car there, but he loses positions to Higginson and to Tim Dickens. And sadly for Henry Heaton, I think he's waving goodbye now to his championship hopes. Back with the 2nd place group, then on to the final lap of the race now. Henderson 2nd, Smith 3rd, Head in 4th position, which might just be enough to keep him mathematically in contention. Remember that John Byrne has used up his 2 drop scores, so as long as you're within 25 or 26 points of him going into the last race, then in theory you could still beat him, but that is going to take some doing, because John Byrne, despite having to scrap it out with Richard Ainscough in the early stages, is on fine form this weekend and is heading for yet another victory. He's had more wins this year than any other driver. That is why he's the championship leader, and now he is just 1 race away from the championship. A brilliant race win there for David Henderson. It's going to be a winning margin of well over 10 seconds back to the rest of the pack behind. What order will they finish in? David Henderson will come through in 2nd place by the looks of it, with William Smith in 3rd and Aaron Head in 4th position. 15 seconds is the eventual margin of victory. A dominant performance from John Byrne. Well, here is confirmation of the result then. Byrne from Henderson from Smith, your podium finishers. Aaron Head 4th and Alex Quirbley 5th. But it's John Byrne's championship to lose now with 1 race to go.
A nice win there was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Taking a little bit of pressure off for the next race now.
If I hadn't dropped behind my teammates at the start, I think I would have been with him, probably stayed with him, but overtaking him would have been a different matter. But then when the gap appeared and I noticed slipstream, I had pressure from Aaron. Oh, that was 25 minutes of hell.
So it all goes down to the final race of the season, with John Byrne putting 1 hand on the championship trophy. However, his 2nd race did not go to plan from the word go. In greasy conditions, he made an awful start from pole position, and David Henderson took a lead that he would hold on to the flag. From then on, the big story was the fight back from John Byrne. He fell right to the very back of the pack into the first corner and needed to get towards the top 10 to clinch the title. He started to make progress, but along the way came across Chris Bates, who he elbowed off onto the grass. The 45 car would eventually rejoin and finish down in 16th place. Then John Byrne came up against Matt Higginson, went to the outside into Graham Hill Bend and got onto the grass. For a horrifying moment, he was headed for the barriers, just managed to regain control and get back on the road. Aaron Head was 3rd in the points going into the final race. He survived this gravelly moment to finish 2nd in the race, but John Byrne came through with a 5th place finish from the very back at turn 1 to claim the 2019 championship.
That was probably one of the worst drives I've done, but I got the job done in the end. I used a few little revs on the start to try and get a bit of traction, and it just bogged down. I stalled it, and the car wouldn't restart, so I went back to the back of the grid. I started to come through slightly, and then overtaking my teammate, I run wide on the like a wet patch, straight up into the grass, back off again, and then slowly work my way back up again. And yeah, just so pleased it's over.
Well, a thrilling championship decider then that sees John Byrne wrap it up in the final race of the season. 9 points his eventual winning margin over Henderson, whilst Aaron Head secures 3rd. Well, it's been a fantastic 2019 championship, a worthy champion in John Byrne, and some fantastic racing along the way.